children of God, the book of Exodus. Exodus chapter 1. Now, I thought that had a very nice dramatic entrance to Exodus. It's been quite a journey there. Anyway, Exodus chapter 1. I just want to do this one chapter because it's very important. It's a transition chapter between Genesis and the book of Exodus. It's a very nice transition chapter. There's something I want you to see here, and we'll just do one chapter before we go to the life of Moses. Genesis chapter 1. Now, these are the names of the children of Israel which came into Egypt. Every man and his household came with Jacob. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan and Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already. And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all the generation. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly, and multiplied and waxed exceedingly mighty. And the land was filled with them. And the land was filled with them. And Joseph died. Okay, and the land was filled with them. All right. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt which knew not Joseph. See, this is the problem. These people, look at verse 7. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. These were becoming more than the Egyptians. Now verse 8. Now there arose up a king over Egypt which knew not Joseph. Okay? They knew not Joseph. All right? Verse 9. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. Verse 11. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field, all their service, wherein they made them serve was with rigor. Verse 15. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. And he said, When ye do the office of our midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared God, and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them. But saved the men children alive. And the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said unto them, Why have ye done this thing, and have saved the men children alive? And the midwives and said unto Pharaoh, Because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively and are delivered ere the midwives come in unto them. They would deliver faster before the midwives come. That was a story being told here. Verse 20. Therefore God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. And it, blessed the midwives with the people, with the household and all that. Verse 20. And it came to pass, because the midwives fear God, that he made them houses, give them children. Verse 22. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, Every son that is born he shall cast into the river, and every daughter he shall save alive. And that is where the story of Moses begins. But now, there's a very important part here, just to link Genesis and Exodus. My problem per se is look at verse 6 of Genesis chapter 1. And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all that generation. Joseph died, the children died, all the children of Jacob, first generation, died, all the history of Genesis died with them. By history, I mean all the people that knew or had those foundations died, the first generation, all right? So everyone is gone, everyone who knew. Even the stories would wither away. The stories will remain passed on. But my problem is yes, I understand that the hardships had to come for prophecies to be fulfilled, for them to come out of, because they had to come out of Egypt one or another. And this is because of the will of God to be known, It is the word has to be fulfilled like that. It is written like that. It had to come to pass like that because it was prophesied like that. Okay? These things happen so that, the prophecy can be fulfilled, what is written, It's like the crucifixion of Jesus. But now in this part, my problem is out of all, there doesn't seem to have someone like Joseph, someone who would hold on the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. There is no spirit moving from one to another, per se, if I may. Or is there? And how God moves. God moves through the heart of someone. And there is no one here worthy to be selected or to be chosen by God. It's a whole lot of death until Joseph died. Until now, there's a new king who does not know who Joseph was. Look at verse 8. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. Whether there was manner of conquering and all that, but there should have been, and as if these people, Israel, are increasing, there's a blessing upon all of them because they're just increasing in number, and none of them is dying, So that's the issue I'm having with this part. It's like they found so much rest with Joseph. They rested, then they rested. So much peace, so much peace. Okay, until they forgot who they were to some extent. Okay, because even when you look at Moses, will have a lot of friction with these people. He will move them out. He will still want to go back to Egypt. So they have really have a strong foundation in Egypt, so much that it has eaten up their own identity, if we may. And that's very strange, because it will take Moses out of the line of Levi to be their deliverer. Because something Moses does when we look at now chapter 2 is it's something that let me just borrow something. Look at Genesis chapter 2 verse 11. We'll look at this in the next video. And it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown that he went out unto his brethren and looked on their burdens, and he spied an Egyptian smiting an able one for his brethren. And he looked this way and that. No, what he does is kill him. That is bad. But the intention, and it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren. So he has decided he doesn't feel Egyptian. It's not where his soul. He has identified himself with his brethren. He knows. He has a lot of knowledge of Egypt, and he knows who is who. But this is what turns around the heart of Moses. He went out unto his brethren and looked on their burdens. That is it. So up to the point of this verse, there was not found between the death of Joseph up to the point of this verse, there was not found someone who would do this, that he went out unto his brethren and looked on their burdens. There was not found someone who would have such a heart. And he spied on Egyptians smiting on it. And then this is now the story that continues, which we'll look at in the next video. So that is my problem with this Israelites. And it's a terrible thing, because make sure that your family always stands with God. You will find very many people, it's only the parents who knew God, like in the case of Gideon. And then the children sort of, what is the word? Is it? No, it's not diffuse. They sort of dilute the thing, and by the time the second, the third generation member, they have no idea how the father and the mother, the grandparents, worked with God. That's the problem we are having here. So when you are raising your children, stick to God. Teach your children the ways of God, and make sure your children teach like that. Because here Joseph made sure that there's a promise like that of Jacob. So this thing had to be continued, So someone would have raised up, like there was no one to be raised up by God. I think that's what I'm getting. Because when you look at Judges, people would be raised up by God. So here there's no one who is being raised up between Joseph and Moses. And that's a terribly long time. So that's it. In the next video, we'll look at the book of Exodus from Exodus chapter 2.